I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for your patience. We're going to be together for the next 30 minutes or so, about 2 miles around the historic San Antonio Riverwalk. How many of you guys, this is your first cruise on the San Antonio River? Just put your hand right up, trying to get an idea of how much of this I can make up. Most of it. That's a pretty sweet way to start the afternoon. Now, has everybody got a camera? Some way to take pictures? Are they working? Working order? I'm ready.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you, ma'am. You and I are friends. There you go. I'll remember that, too. Believe me. You guys ready to go? Yeah. Let's take off then.
Alright, so we're going to be taking a boat ride on the San Antonio River. So I'm just sit back and enjoy. I'm not going to say too much because the captain, the driver of the boat, will do most of the narrating.
You guys have a great time. See ya. Good work. Everybody want me to go? All right. This is my next cruise.
Not yet. Now you can hear me. Well, folks, I promise that I'm going to keep you well informed, but I have to have your help to keep you safe. So please remain seated throughout our tour. That includes all your body parts well inside my wooden rail. All noses and mouths must be shielded or masked at all times. On my rule, I just get to mention it. Thank you for not smoking or vaping. And in the unlikely event we start to take on water, we do have flotation devices sufficient for myself and everybody that took my picture. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Rest of you, jump around, hobble, look for a lifeguard, then stand up and walk out of San Antonio River. On average, the river is 4 foot deep. So is everybody still ready to go?
Yeah.
This is the lagoon at the Shopship River Center, second largest mall in San Antonio. About 1 million square feet of dining, entertainment, and credit card exercising locations. About 100 shops, 20 or so restaurants, and a couple of movie theaters that aren't reopened yet. We'll pick a fine afternoon to come out and ride with us. Come out of the lagoon, we're going to pass some fruit trees. We're actually have a lot of fruit trees on the Riverwalk. Just point two of them out to you. Directly ahead of us, that is an orange tree. Some of the oranges have begun to blush. When I first came on the shift today, Drake and Mildred, my duck friends, were actually in that tree trying to pick those oranges. Not only is it illegal, they didn't have any way to carry them. So you know how ducks carry an orange? They wing it. They just learn to wing it. That's the first but not the worst duck joke you'll hear, folks. This is a lemon tree. Biggest lemons I've ever seen. They're about the size of baseballs. They're about 6 weeks to be fully ripe. For millennia, this area was known as John-Riverwalk, the place of pure, peaceful water. Do any of you know how it came to be known as San Antonio? We're going to correct that oversight in your otherwise well-rounded educational experience. As we come out from under this pedestrian bridge, if you look up on your right, the river sidewalk level, you'll see an 8-foot-tall bronze statue of St. Anthony de Padua, 12th century Portuguese saint whose feast day is June the 13th. It was on June the 13th, 1691, that Father Damien Massenet celebrated the first Mass in this area. Because June the 13th is the feast day of San Antonio de Padua, we've been known as San Antonio ever since. To our port forward, the beautiful Hilton Palacio del Rio Hotel, 500-room hotel built in preparation for the 1968 World's Fair. That is a historic building. You see, the original contractor had gone bankrupt, and within a year of the opening date of the World's Fair, construction had not begun on that huge building. Conrad Hilton wanted those rooms. San Antonio needed them, so they went looking for someone who could build a huge building in an even bigger hurry. The HP Zachary Company, a local construction firm, said we'll build it for you. Not only that, we'll have it ready in time for the World's Fair, but if we don't, you pay us $1 and we'll be absolutely even. Conrad Hilton knew a good thing when he heard it and gave the contract. August 1967, the HP Zachary Company came on site and started building the first 4 floors, including the elevator shaft. At the same time, about 7.5 miles south of San Antonio, they had a construction yard set up, and before concrete in the forms they had there. In the concrete cured, they removed the forms, and there were the rooms. They painted those rooms, put carpet down, beds with the carpet, sheets on the bed, mints on the pillows, art on the wall, lamps on the nightstand, bulbs on the lamps, soap in the dishes. They hung towels from the racks, had those rooms entirely kitted out, ready to go, with the exception of the televisions. Now, some of us are old enough to remember back then when televisions were about the size of Buicks. But nonetheless, they sealed up those rooms, put them on a flatbed truck, and brought them up here. And over the next 42 days, with the help of the crane, a huge fan on the back so they could precisely peek exactly where they need to go, each of those 500 rooms. They completed the Palacio del Rio Hotel in 202 working days, start to finish. The first modular building in the history of the world, and according to Guinness Book of World Records, the largest building built in the shortest amount of time. The HP Factory Company managed to get that building open on April the 4th, 1968. The World Fair opened on April the 6th, 1968, to meet the deadline by less than 48 hours. We're going to come out the front of the bridges, enter the original main channel, San Antonio River, right up that little restaurant across the way. Now, this time of day, Drake and Mildred, my Dutch friends, refused to walk up there and get something to eat. It doesn't matter what they order because they never paid for it. That got old quickly, so I asked him, I said, look, when I go out to eat, I eat, and I pay or I don't eat. You guys eat, never pay, and you keep eating. How do you do that? And both of them looked at me kind of stunned and said, well, Mitch, we don't pay. We just don't put it on our bills. That one quacks me up every time. Each day that it stands, it makes history. I had absolutely no idea how long the modular building would last. On April 4th of this year, it turned 52 years old. This is the second of our 3 docks. We have 3 of them. Only 2 of them are open until tomorrow. Cannabis, Wabi of a little village in 1722 as San Antonio was organizing itself. That had been a Native American gathering spot for centuries. So when the Spanish and then the Mexican, eventually the German and the French settlers came, they settled into La Villita before moving on to other parts of San Antonio. You still see their influence in the architecture there. During the siege of Alamo, Santa Ana had a cannon line in La Villita for 12 days. That 13-day siege, those cannons were never silent. La Villita is now a haven for artists and craftsmen to ply their trade and sell their wares within the confines of that wonderfully unique section of downtown. It includes the Artisan River Theater, an 800-seat amphitheater, seating on the left, stage on the right, finished in 1941 by the Works Party Administration. As we go around the front of the stage, if you'll look behind the stage, you're going to see 5 bells, one for each of the missions that make up the World Heritage Site here in San Antonio. The only World Heritage Site in Texas, one of 23 in the nation. The middle bell is dedicated to Robert Hugman. He was 27 when he started drawing plans for this park, and in 1980 we recognized his genius by naming him the father of the Riverwalk. Directly ahead of us, you see that sculpture looks like cattle being driven up and out of the water. That is coming home to Briscoe. It's an homage to the time that San Antonio was a cow town. There are literally thousands of unbranded or maverick cattle running around. You just have to go out, round up a herd, push your brand on, and suddenly you're in the cattle business. Of course, that means you have to spend the next several months walking behind those animals. Beautiful Art Deco building in front of it is the Briscoe Western Art Museum. That building opened in 1930 as the second home to the Free Public Library. The library moved downstream in '68. Then the Hirschberg Circus Museum moved in. They were there till about 2002. The Briscoe opened in 2013. Named in honor of the late Governor Doss and his First Lady, Janie Briscoe. San Antonio is home to 4 of the few remaining cast iron bridges in the nation. We get to go under this one here at Crescent Street, the cast iron Rosetta Bridge. This bridge was built in 1890s Berlin, Connecticut. Berlin Bridge Company. A few moments ago, we spoke about Father Damien Massenet in San Antonio de Padua, 12th century Portuguese saint, and that Father Damien Massenet celebrated the first Mass here, June 13th, 1691. And here on our starboard, you see this sculpture on this little island. That is the place that occurred. That is Massenet's Island, the sculptor is Massenet's Table. That beautiful heart-shaped island is often referred to as Marriage Island. We have about 300 weddings a year that take place there, and it's said if you get married on Marriage Island that there's luck in your union. I have one friend that's tried that 4 different times on that particular island. He now runs around San Antonio saying, "Remember the alimony." This tomorrow street bridge goes part of the San Antonio River, known as the Old Mill Crossing. For years it was the widest and the shallowest part of the San Antonio River, so it was the most easily to ford. When Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders were here training for the Spanish-American War, they frequently crossed the San Antonio River at the Old Mill Crossing. Port Forward, that beautiful red sandstone building, Onion Dome Tower, is the Bexar County Courthouse, opened in 1897, and from that day to this, it's been the seat of law and justice for the people of Bexar County. It stands on the main plaza, the original town square of San Antonio. Also on the main plaza is San Fernando Cathedral, whose cornerstone was laid in 1738. To our left, the port side, 402 feet to the base of that flagpole, 30-story tall, neo-Gothic architecture of the Tower Life building. When it was being constructed in the 20s, it was known as the Smith-Young building. The builders, they wanted protection against bad luck and against bad business, so they put gargoyles around the top 2 tiers of that octagon-shaped tower, and grotesque between the first and second stories here on our left. At a cost of $3 million, this building opened on June 1st, 1929, just in time 5 months later for the stock market to crash. So much for the good luck. The builders were overextended in building this building, as well as other investments, went bankrupt, could not pay the taxes when they came due. Therefore, this building sold at auction shortly thereafter for those back taxes and brought in about 10 cents on the dollar. Not exactly a return on investment that anybody wants to have. We come out from under the St. Mary Street Bridge on our right, International Center, finished 1968, modern architecture, third home to the Free Public Library. Presently it's the NAFTA offices for Canada, Mexico, and the United States, as well as Visit San Antonio, San Antonio's Convention and Visitors Bureau. There's also a restaurant, a nightclub in it. Downstairs, that's not the part of the basement, that's called Rio's Arena. Now, before we go on the Plug and Show channel, I have to make sure that nobody is coming in as we're going out, and I also have to announce our exit from the Horseshoe section of the San Antonio River. So that gives you a chance to look back over my left shoulder and notice that the Tower Life building looks remarkably like a ship setting sail into the river. That was by design, and that the builders expected their future to be as bright as the past they left behind. But we know that at the end of that story, they went bankrupt, lost the building and the rest of their fortune in a tax auction. Because of those unfortunate events, it is now rumored that the Tower Life building may in fact be haunted. And some folks have reported, having listened very carefully, actually being able to hear the sound of a ship's horn. Y'all heard that, right? Yeah, I hate to be the only one hearing things this early in the afternoon. It makes the body edgy the rest of the day when that happens. Coming into the flood control channel to flood control lock number 4. If we're in a flood situation, that lock would come up from the bottom of the river to protect downtown San Antonio. As we turn north into the flood control channel, if you'll look south about 200 yards, you'll see a red and green light atop flood control dam number 5. The flood control channel, the flood control gates, and the flood control dam were all built in response to the 1921 flood that saw floodwaters reach 8 feet above street level, about 25 feet from where we are right now. Since these flood control measures have been put in place, San Antonio has not suffered another devastating flood. We can't turn left and go over the flood control dam because it's a 15-foot drop from this part of the river to the next part of the river, and my supervisors have absolutely no sense of adventure. So y'all cool enough? You need me to turn up the air conditioning? Everything okay? We begged for air conditioning in July. They put it in last week. I ain't told them. On our right, the Drury Plaza Hotel. That building opened in 1929 as Alamo National Bank building. The Drury folks renovated it in 2007, and part of that renovation was the renovation of the 1929 Alamo National Bank lobby. If you like Art Deco style, don't miss that lobby. To our left, you'll have to look back real quickly just to catch a glimpse of San Fernando Cathedral. Cornerstone laid in 1738. Sanctuary predates that by about 22 years, making it the oldest sanctuary cathedral in the nation. Very historic. That is one of the founding places of San Antonio. Still a very active congregation, and the building's open every day. Check the website for times. Ahead starboard, see that huge cypress tree. We don't know exactly how old it is. We reckon it to be over 1,000 years old. We do know that it stood there on December the 7th, 1835 during the rebellion by the Texans and Tejanos against the Mexican state. It was on that date that a Mexican national sniper hid in the branches of that tree and shot Ben Milam, one of the leaders of the rebellion, as he had to be in the courtyard, approximately the half the men now stand. Mr. Milam lost his life, and since that time, that tree has been known as the Ben Milam tree. We're entering the original main channel of the San Antonio River through Port Control Gate number 3. As we get straightened up and start headed downstream, if you look downstream, I think this is one of the most picturesque moments in a very picturesque park. To our left, the beautiful Drury Inn and Suites. That building opened in 1921 as the San Antonio Utilities Company. Now, the irony is that it opened in the summer of 1921. The devastating flood occurred on September the 9th, 1921. If you look on the first floor here at our windows, count with me from the bottom window, 2 windows, the transom, and then the 3rd window. The depth of the water of the 1921 flood is the transom between the 2nd and 3rd window. A vastly devastating flood here in San Antonio, loss of life, loss of property. It was the first time the federal government assisted the local municipality in flood relief. To our starboard, the Aztec Theater. Unfortunately, all you're going to be able to see is the big tarp. They're building a pavilion over the street there. It'll be hopefully open by this time next year, so you can come by and get a cocktail, a hot chocolate, and watch us drive boats, or maybe even bring that home with you. That's the second of our 3 docks. It'll be open again tomorrow. This beautiful bridge until 1997 was always referred to as Hugman's Bridge, and then a movie starring Jennifer Lopez was filmed here in San Antonio, and since that movie's release, this bridge is now often referred to as Selena's Bridge. To our left, the beautiful Omni La Maison del Rio Hotel. That building opened in 1853. It was much smaller. It was known as St. Mary's Convent for Boys, a boys' school much needed here in South Texas. It prospered, eventually becoming St. Mary's University. The School of Law was housed there until 1966, when the school consolidated the west side of San Antonio, where it stands today. 2 alum bought that property and transformed it into the La Maison del Rio Hotel, opening it just in time for the 1968 World's Fair, and the Omni Corporation bought it in 2006. Vista Street Bridge looks pretty common. There are cars going over the top of it, people walk across it, the undercarriage is pretty typical. However, this is a magic bridge. Now what I'm going to ask you to do as we come out from the other side of this bridge is for you to give your attention to the building on our left and look all the way to the top of that building as we come out from under this bridge for a magical optical illusion. Are you ready? Focus, focus, let us focus on the building to our left, all the way to the top. Looks like a flat wall instead of a full building. The reason being the next hospital is built in Undercudang on the Navarro Street corner. That hospital opened in 1930. It was the first full-service hospital in Texas, one of the first in the nation. It had improvements in it, like valet parking, and it was air conditioned. That building is still fully air conditioned. Ahead of us, Hyatt Regency Hotel, opened in 1981, 16 stories tall. My friends, if you're ever fortunate enough to stay in the Hyatt Regency in a room overlooking the river, seriously consider closing your curtains after dark. You'll be surprised what boat captains get to see coming down the river after dark. 16 stories, much shorter than many of the other hotels in the area. The reason being, we're at any taller at certain times of the year, the casting shot on the Alamo. San Antonio has an ordinance forbidding any building from casting a shot on the Alamo. So when they had to stop at 16 stories, they focused in on the lobby and the atrium. If you look off the left side of the boat through those glass doors and glass walls into the lobby, you'll be able to see some of the water features that are reminiscent of the aquacias and the viaducts the early settlers used to irrigate the ranches and the mission. To our right, the Casino Club building, the beautiful carved, painted, and recessed brick dome is the architectural feature of the Casino Club building. It was finished in 1927. Unfortunately, the club disbanded in the mid-50s after being together for about a century. The building changed hands a time or two, and in 1970 it was renovated into a restaurant and retail space on the first 2 floors. Above that are apartments. Alex Haley, who wrote the world-famous novel Roots, was once a tenant in the Casino Club building. Part of the Riverwalk into which we're entering now is known as River Square. It's a place of retail, taverns, and restaurants. It's also the place where my duck friends Drake and Mildred come this time of day to get some lunch. Doesn't matter where they're seated, they always order peanut butter. Even though I told them you can get Mexican food or Cajun food, Mexican food or Italian food, or Mexican food or Texas barbecue, or Mexican food is all available and it's all delicious, how come you always get peanut butter? Well, Frank looked at me and he said, well, Mitch, we always get peanut butter because ducks already have their own quackers. You're welcome. That is the worst one right there. You survived it. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for recognizing that. Now, ever since street level, you see that orange-reddish or reddish-orange sculpture, one of many pieces of public art here in San Antonio. That particular piece is called the Torch of Friendship. It was a gift from the people of Mexico to the people of San Antonio. It was designed and created by the Mexican artist Sebastian, who built it on site in sections in 2002. We come over the historic Commerce Street Bridge. On our right is Casarillo. In 1946, they were the first to offer riverside dining. They were also the first to offer riverboat rides, and now those boats were gondolas. Gondolas are pushed around with long poles. Really can't tell you folks how happy I am they got beyond that idea and gave me an electric boat. The hacienda from which Casarillo is expanded is here on our right. I pointed that building out because it actually stands on land as part of a 1777 land grant from the King of Spain. You can go into that part of the restaurant, have a very nice meal, and still see many of the original architectural moments from that Spanish colonial building. As San Antonio was preparing for the 1968 World's Fair, it was quickly agreed that the Riverwalk would be a part of that celebration, so they made the man-made extension, the area into which we're re-entering now, to connect the Riverwalk to the fairgrounds. The man-made extension is 4, perhaps 5 feet deep. It's all concrete bottom. We call it the man-made extension because it extends the San Antonio River, and it's man-made. You're welcome again. All right, well, you'll see the Marriott River Center Hotel, finished in 1988, but before they could build the Marriott River Center Hotel, they had to overcome the fact that the Fremont Hotel has stood in that location since 1906. Its historic standing forbade it from being torn down, even though it was a derelict building at the time. To renovate it, to make it part of the Marriott family, was not their business plan, so they took the only option left. They moved it. In 1985, after 5 years of study, they jacked up that 16,000-ton building, put it on a flatbed truck with pneumatic tires, and over the next 6 days moved it 4 blocks to the corner of Nuevo and South Alamo Streets, where it stands in this moment. And the Guinness Book of World Records has recognized the move of the Fremont as the largest building moved on pneumatic tires. On our port or left side, you'll have to look back just a little. A beautiful neo-Gothic spire of St. Joseph's Catholic Church, finished in 1868 by German immigrants out of a desire to have a place of worship in their native tongue. It too is still a very active congregation. Just check the website for visiting hours and protocols. To our right, way up, 750-foot tall Tower of the Americas, centerpiece of the 1968 World's Fair. At the top of it is the Chart House restaurant that makes one complete revolution every hour. That's fast enough to have a nice meal, see all of San Antonio and its environs, but not so fast that you need a Dramamine for dessert. Just below the restaurant is an observation deck, and for $12 you can ride a glass panel elevator all the way up that observation deck. Or you can take the stairs. There's only 952 of them, and in 1981 the record for climbing those stairs from the ground to that observation deck was set at 5 minutes and 21 seconds. I'll never do that again. Well, folks, we made the big circle. We're going to be docking in just a few moments, so please remain seated until I get us firmly tied back in the dock. Look around you to make sure that if you brought it with you, you take it with you. Hats and coats and scarves and glasses, trash and drink receptacles, sunglasses and cameras, small children, spouses, grandparents, aunts and uncles, nieces and nephews, in-laws, outlaws, and of course those beloved ex-laws. Now, if you want to have to leave something on our boat, we do have a wonderful, often found website. It's called www.ebay.com. You guys have been more than spectacular. You could have chosen to do anything on this Thursday afternoon. You chose to come get on this boat. Let me brag about my beautiful city. I want you to know that of the thousands of folks it's been my privilege to take on this tour, that you guys, and I mean this from my heart to yours, you guys are without a doubt and are by far the most recent. I want you to take that with you. I will remember this crew until I get new people on the boat, I promise. I'll be on the docks if you have any questions. You want to know I get back someplace we talked about or someplace else here in San Antonio. Glad to help you find those locations. A lot to see and do in this town. Most of it's open. Just on an abbreviated fashion. If you enjoyed yourself, learned something, or just for a job very well done, there'll be a tip jar on our helm here. If you'd like to put something in it, those will be thankfully received, deeply appreciated. We even have more cash out if that helps. Let me tie us up, folks. You don't have to swim to shore because it's a bit chilly to go swimming right now.
Okay, and that was it for the boat ride. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, or subscribe.